Hey, this is Nicole Kelly, host of Loud and Proud. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is John Lauder, host of The Cheap Seats here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, The Cheap Seats, where we talk about sports from the fans' perspective. A new show comes out every Monday. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of The Cheap Seats. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Today's verse of the day comes from Psalm 46, verse 5. God is within her. She will not fall. God will help her at break of day. Good morning. Welcome to the Verse of the Day podcast presented by Public House Media. I'm your host, Baxter Colburn. Thanks a lot for being here today on a Friday edition of the program. Great news for you today as we get ready to start the podcast. The verse of the day is now officially on the phmedia.com store. So that's really exciting. You can now go out and purchase verse of the day apparel. We've got phone cases and t-shirts and hats and a tote bag and coffee mugs and socks. There's a lot of other cool stuff on there as well too. So if you're interested in buying something to help support the show, first of all, we'd be really grateful if you did. You can do so by going to thephmedia.com, and then on the right corner you're going to see a little tab that says store. Click on that. It'll bring you to the PH Media or Public House Media store, and just look for the verse of the day link, and from there you'll be on your way. You can also subscribe to the show by going to Apple Podcasts. You can do that on a various bit of platforms, whether that be on your computer or if that would be on your Apple or iOS device as a whole. So we appreciate that. And of course, if you want to submit a verse of the day like so many have done, we really appreciate that. Send us a message on Facebook and Instagram, Verse of the Day Podcast, or of course by our email, verseofthedaypod@gmail.com. I really enjoyed today's verse because I think it really has some crucial and vital information that I think all of our listeners need to hear, especially our female listeners today. The context of the verse today is, who is the her David is speaking about in this verse? In this context, her is the church that God loves so very much. So when it comes to Bible history, there is a vast majority of times that we often hear of God loving the church, or as here in this context, her. I think the Pulpit Commentary says it wonderfully. It says, while the world is being turned upside down, we see this in the verses 2, 3, and 6, the church is unmoved, since God is in the midst of her. God shall help her, and that right early, literally at the turning of the morning, or in other words, at the break of day. While I know the verse is speaking more metaphorically about God loving his bride, the church, I want to take a moment to step outside the box and talk directly to our ladies listening today for a moment. Do you see how God loves the church? Do you see how he's willing to do anything for her? Even when the earth moves and all hell breaks loose, God will keep his arms wrapped around the church of believers to keep them safe from harm. See, in the same light, if you're not married yet, I want you to really strive towards finding that special someone that you can feel the same kind of love and safety around. Keep in mind, of course, that you will never find someone that will love you more than God does, which is important and incredibly valuable for us to know, that God loves us and will always be there for us. It's an incredible feeling, isn't it? See, when we find someone, though, however, in this world filled with just pure and terrible self-doubt and overall hatred towards oneself in the way we look, the way we talk, the way we think, the way we eat, and just really how we exist, it can really wear us down. Not only as guys, but as girls, and just as a human race as a whole. Ladies, married, single, dating, whatever you are, I want you to listen up and I want you to listen good right now. You are beautiful. You are strong. You are powerful. You are resilient. You are important. You are making a difference in this world. You are loved. You are incredible. You take on challenges that no one else ever could. You are smart. You are gifted. And you are fearfully and wonderfully made. So you have a Father in heaven that will never leave you, never forsake you, never run when things get hard, never utter a hateful word against you, never strike you down, and most importantly, will never stop loving you. These words can be used as a reminder for everyone, not just women, because trust me, we as guys are just as messed up and full of self-doubt. It's just terrible. Trust me on that. So today, take the words of King David from our verse and run with them. When we keep God inside us, He will never leave us and never let us fall. You've been listening to the Verse of the Day podcast hosted by Baxter Colburn on Public House Media. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Verse of the Day. It comes out 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The podcast can be found by subscribing on Google Play Podcasts and wherever good podcasts are found. More information about Verse of the Day podcast can be found by going to thephmedia.com.